Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Raven Starr. You're back with what is it? Is it episode three? Or is it
Three.
Oh, it's three.
Three.
All right, you guys. Episode three of Monster Madness with your girl Raven Starr and
Dbugi.
Dbugi. I love that. I too. Dbugi. D. Okay, I can't sing. I will try on occasion. So. Don't put in the comments, Raven, stop singing, because then I would just sing more.
Right. Hey.
Right? So today we are going to talk about slasher films. Right. Love it. So I think what we're going to start off on, let's talk about Halloween first. I was just watching the original Halloween yesterday, 1978, with the original Scream Queen, Jamie Lee Curtis. Love her.
John Carpenter's masterpiece. So we're going to talk about. So we're going to go with the what I figured we were going to do is do the big four.
Yeah.
And give an honorable mention because I really hadn't even thought about it. But if you got to include the big four, which is Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Leatherface.
Leatherface.
Yeah, to me, those are the big four. And then Christy and Dean made a very valid point that we can't talk about them and not include Chucky. How can we not include Chucky? So we have to give him an honorable mention.
Absolutely.
But yes, we can definitely start with Halloween. Michael Myers is hands down my favorite of them all because he killed with a willful abandon. He didn't care. He wasn't going to chase you. He wasn't going to run after you, but he was going to catch you.
And he will get you.
And he will get you.
Just walking. He was very, very, very creepy. Like I said, I just watched it yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. And even though it was 1978, still a really good film. Can't leave out Donald Pleasant. Fabulous actor.
Great.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I love him because, like I said, he will walk. He's not, he's chasing you, but he ain't running after you. He knows where you're at all times. So there's no hiding from him because he's everywhere. But what did you think about the second one, Season of the Witch? Did not enjoy that.
That was 3. Season of the Witch was 3, right?
Was it?
Yeah, because 2 was Halloween, and then it was Halloween 2. 3 was Season of the Witch. 4 was Return of Michael Myers. Yeah. 3. Yeah. I really liked it. But I didn't like that it was...
You see what's happening? This is the first time that Boogie and I are not in agreement.
I really liked it, but I didn't like that it was part of the Halloween. I would have liked it as a standalone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like a totally separate movie that didn't have anything to do with that, because
that's the fact that they did... It had nothing to do with nothing.
Right.
Season of the Witch had nothing to do with any of the characters.
Right.
Not Michael. It was nothing. It was about a mask and some snakes. And you guys know how I feel about snakes. So I don't agree. I didn't like Season of the Witch. I did watch it a couple times because I thought maybe I'm too stupid to figure it out.
Yeah.
But no, did not like it at all.
But all of them had one that I just was like, what in the world? Because what was the Friday the 13th with where it wasn't even him, it was Tommy. What was that? 6?
Yeah, that was 6. Yeah. I
and I was like,
I didn't like that either. I didn't find any joy in it.
Right. And I'm like, and of course, the Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
We are in agreement. Not good.
You know what? Why? I mean, why?
Well, if we're going to talk about Freddy like that, then we have to talk about, I think it was the second one, it was Freddy's Revenge, where it had like really nothing to do with Heather Langenkamp, and it was just that dude, Jamie and Freddy, and I've got the fight, you've got the money. You know what I mean? Come on, come on. But if we're gonna talk about Freddy, let's talk about the difference between a Robert Englund Freddy and a what's his name? His name is Jackie Earl Haley. I loved him as Rorschach in The Watchmen.
Yeah, Rorschach is in The Watchmen. Fantastic.
Fantastic movie. And if you haven't seen it, Dr. Manhattan is naked.
The whole time he's walking.
So
Just slinging it.
naked. It's just hanging out. It's just hanging out. But I did not like Jackie's version. I tried to watch that the other day, and
I just got through watching it.
See, you're better than me. I couldn't get into it because Robert Englund to me is Freddy.
Right.
Sorry, you shouldn't have ever tried to remake that.
Right.
Some horror movies just don't need to be remade at all. But if we're going to talk about remakes, let's go back and talk about the 2007
Halloween.
Rob Zombie Halloween. Now,
fantastic, amazing.
Awesome.
Both of them were amazing.
Yes. I loved how he went into Michael's head.
He went into Michael's head.
Yes. We've never been able to see what he's thinking and why he's thinking and what is going on. So I loved that with Rob, because we just knew that he was chasing his sister.
Yeah.
You know, that was the premise. But when Rob did it, you're like, oh, we're in his head. We know what's going on. And it was fabulous. So yeah. I think that it's almost like a prequel. It's not even like a remake, because you have to, if you're going to know anything about Michael, then you have to watch what Rob Zombie did.
Yeah. And I just say, instead of a remake, I always saw it as, instead of, it was the story, but it was coming at it from Michael's point of view, as opposed to the outside, view of everything. Right. But he was Rob Zombie just took it to a whole new place. Like, even when they tried to redo the Friday the 13th with Jared Padalecki and and all, and I'm like, the dude from Superstore, getting caught in the bear trap while his girlfriend's getting roasted over the fire. I'm like, okay, I give you. I'm like, but another one in a sleeping bag. Come on, man. You just beat the girl in the sleeping bag in the other in the last movie. Yeah. And I'm like, come on, you got to give me a different kill, because Jason was the king of original kills to me. That's what made Jason great to me, is because he would kill people. Friday the 13th, Part 3, the one that was in 3D.
Yes.
Was so good as far as kill wise, because when he squeezed Paul's head and his eyeballs shot out, when the guy that was walking on his hands, he used to walk on his hands all the time, and he got to the top of the stairs and Jason split him in half.
Oh my God, that was a good gory scene.
I was like,
yes,
yes, that was a good kill. Kelly Rowland caught a bad one too.
She did.
Yeah, she caught a bad one too.
But you know what? I think she went out like a trooper, though. I do. I think her trying to, what are these butter knives? What you gonna do with these butter knives, Freddie?
She a survivor. You know what I'm saying?
She ain't survived that, though. She ain't no survivor. Love Kelly Rowland, though. Blessings to her. But you know what? With Freddie, he scared me because I like to sleep.
Right.
So what would happen if he was really chasing us in our sleep and we can't sleep? I don't know if you've seen it, but a friend of mine, Andres Jones, who played Rick Johnson in Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which I call that the rise of Alice, because for the very first time, Heather in the first one, she kind of kicked his butt too. But in number 4, the transformation that Lisa Wilcox went through,
Yeah.
you know, to that battle scene at the end. I saw that in the theater. My older brother was a couple seats back, and my best friend at the time, when they were in that church and she was kicking the crap out of him, we stood up and we were like, yeah, kick his butt,
Yeah.
get him.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that so much. But like I said, with Andres, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called oh my goodness. Oh, it's called The Attic Expeditions, and it was 2001. Andres plays a man that was sentenced to experimental rehab because of the brutal death of his girlfriend. Woo! If you have not seen this movie, you need to take a look at it because it is a very good, and it's a slasher film. I have to give it. I'm mentioning it because it's also a slasher.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think with Jason Goes to Hell, I love that because it sets up for Freddy versus Jason, which was long in the making, and I wish that I would have written the story because I said that, you know, when Jason Goes to Hell and Freddy comes up and he grabs his mask, I was like, yeah, Freddy versus Jason, awesome. I should have written it. The only thing that I didn't like is I wanted them to fight more, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Freddy versus Jason was such a letdown because that, like I say, that fight scene, it was great. Don't get it wrong. It was great, but I wanted so much more.
Fighting, but I wanted to see more because you know they're fighting over the same folks.
Yes.
So I would see them kind of like batting heads the whole time, and not that 5-second fight scene that I wish was a little bit longer.
Yeah. But you know, like I say, the only one I would have been. First of all, I wasn't going into camp, you know, all that Camp Silver Lake. First of all you had to do was tell me one time not to go to Camp Silver Lake, so I wouldn't have to worry about Jason ever.
No,
you know, no. Freddie, you're not gonna beat me in my dream. You're not gonna beat me in my dream.
But what about 3? We got with the Warriors.
That's what I'm saying. With the Dream Warriors, and they all was like, the dude was like, I'm a wizard. I'm a wizard. You know this? What? Get the fuck out of here. You know what? Are you serious?
You ain't no damn wizard. You ain't do shit. Funny. That's too funny.
Oh, man. I was like, y'all can't do better. I'm like, man, if you gonna be a wizard for real, I would have been Gandalf in that bad boy. I'd have been Merlin. You know what I'm saying?
And Harry Potter wasn't there yet, but I would have been somebody with some
Morgana
power.
I would have summoned the power of Morgana Le Fay and get some. You know, no.
Yeah.
Damn that.
Yeah.
He wanted to have claws. I'd have been like, okay, I channel my inner Wolverine on you, buddy.
Yeah.
Now get some.
Absolutely. I liked the Dream Warriors because I liked the premise of it. I liked the fact that in your dreams you can be whoever and whatever you want. But yeah, I think that for him to be a wizard, he did nothing. He had sparkles coming out of his hands. What are you gonna do with sparkles? You know, Freddy has got more than butter knives on his hand. You know, so sparkles versus knives don't win. And if we're gonna talk about sparkles, your vampires should never sparkle.
Never.
Okay, that's it. We're gonna save that for when we do vampires. But sorry, you guys, a sparkling vampire, horrible. Yes, he's not gonna say words. We have discussed this off camera before, so I can't wait for us to get it in. But we talked about Jason. Did we talk about Michael?
Yeah, you know, we talked about the Michael because we talked about the Rob Zombie and Mr. Zombie. If you happen to ever watch this, just know that I want to do an entire episode devoted to you because you are the man.
Yes, you rock. Absolutely.
Devil's Rejects, Hands Across 1,000 Corpses.
Have you seen
3 from Hell?
31 was good
Three
too.
from Hell.
Yeah.
Salem. Oh my God.
Yeah. The Lords of Salem.
Lords of Salem.
Yeah.
That man is a horror visionary.
Genius.
I
He
don't
is
know,
a
but
genius.
he
The
does
way
it
he
right.
can put it together, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
But anyway,
I know we're stepping off, but Rob, seriously, Devil's Rejects, I can watch scary movies all the time. That scared me. It just did. They were so raw that whole time.
baby.
And wow.
Baby.
Yeah, baby. Baby. Yes. Sherry Moon, is that her name?
Yes.
Woo!
Sherry Moon Zombie.
Rob
Yes.
Zombie, your wife is gorgeous.
And
Absolutely gorgeous.
and she plays crazy better than anybody I have ever seen on TV outside of Margot Robbie.
Yes. Oh yes. Okay, you guys, we're getting off track. Let's flip it to Leatherface.
Okay, Leatherface. Now, Texas Chainsaw. Now, Michael Myers might have been my favorite of all of them, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake of that with Jessica Biel, is probably top 5 as far as my all-time favorite horror movies. Period. And it's definitely my all-time favorite remake of any horror movie.
Yes.
That was so. Not only was Leatherface terrifying, his whole family was nuts. They were psycho. The nephew, the granddaddy, the uncle, the grandmama, the aunt.
One of them a cop.
Crazy.
One of them was a cop, so you couldn't even get away. That car scene when they picked up that hitchhiker in the beginning, and she pulls that gun out of a place where only babies should come from. You guys, she pulled a gun from there. I was just like, oh, because honestly, if a movie does not grab me within the first, I give it a first minute, maybe 2 minutes. If you don't grab me, I'm not watching it. So that being the first scene, I was stuck the whole time, just stuck, totally stuck, because I was like, oh my goodness.
And not only did she pull it from there, 15 seconds later, the camera pans around and there is a gaping hole through the back of the window of the car, and you can look straight through her head.
Yes. Woo! That was good.
I was like, yes. They knew how to. That whole family, and you couldn't get away because everybody was in on it. The whole family was down from the sheriff all the way down to
uncles and cousins and all sorts of stuff.
Now, have you seen the New Generation with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the New Generation. Now, there are about 8 of those. I always say there are about 8.
I want to say that I have, but
it was done in '95, and it was one of those ones. And I always say that it was the movie where they were really broke, and they just had to do something because it is bad. It is bad. The original one, 1976, Tobe Hooper. I get it. Look, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was great.
Great.
All of those, the original ones were great. But then when they got to the New Generation, they made another movie called Leatherface, and it was.
I saw that. I didn't really enjoy it.
I was like, no, stop. And then they made the one A New Beginning just not too long ago with what is her name? Hold on, I was just looking at it.
This is awesome, you guys. I enjoy this show so much that I've always wanted to do something like this to give homage to some of the best horror movies out there. I did mention that we might even just do movie madness alongside Monster Madness because there's also so many good movies out there that I'd like to discuss. But it's this is fun. So if you like us hanging out and making you laugh and telling you about all the good movies, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Did you see the one, the 3D one that they did in a couple of years ago, Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes, it did.
But what'd you think about that one? I mean, that was another one that they remade of a remake. You know what I mean? It was like they're remaking it again.
Yeah, I didn't find that pleasing because I don't like a repetitive story. You know what I mean? And it was kind of repetitive. So what I just don't like all of the time the remakes. The remake, let's make it better. Sometimes when you think you're making it better, you're screwing it up. You're screwing it up.
Right.
It's like, like I'm gonna skip from the slashers to maybe Hellraiser. Those movies were good.
Oh, Pinhead was an amazing. Wes Craven did a fantastic job with those.
Yes.
The whole idea of the box unlocking the gates of hell and giving you your most intimate desire, but at what cost? Great.
That was also a very, very amazing set of movies. And I can still watch those. So those are all great. But when we're talking about like the big four, there are certain ones that I really didn't like. I did not like Jason X. Is that him in space?
In space. Now.
Why did Jason go to Manhattan?
Why were they keeping him?
Yes. Why would you take a man that can't really die and put him on a ship in space?
Right.
What was the meaning of having him in space?
Like the whole thing I was looking at, and is who had the most kills in the whole thing, and it's Leatherface has 14 total on-screen kills. That's just Leatherface now. We're not talking about the rest of his family,
That's just him. That's his personal body count.
Jason has 171 on-screen kills.
Wow.
Freddy has
Jason ain't no
42.
Joke. Jason will kill you.
Michael Myers has 105. And Chucky has 44.
How much did Freddy have?
Freddy has 42.
Wow. All right. Get it, Mike. Everybody want to be like Mike.
Yeah. But, so Freddy, so Jason and Michael were the only ones that had over 100. But then you had, Hannibal Lecter had 58, the Leprechaun.
I cannot wait to talk about that. Me want me good.
He had 51, so he had more on-screen kills than Freddy, Leatherface, and I'm like, but if you just want to talk about just random kills, you got to talk about Hatchet and a bunch of those other ones, which we'll get into, with the other B-list slashers later.
Absolutely, because Hatchet was really good. I kind of because when you can shoot somebody from miles away, but if you're up close and you're stabbing them and you got a hatchet, that's personal, that's blood, that's intensity. So yeah.
And the sheer power that it would take, like the sheer strength that Jason or Michael, just have in general, to be able to decapitate people with one single blow of a machete or whatever. Because,
that's crazy.
you know, I'm a pretty big dude, you know, and still, I think it would be a little hard for me to decapitate a grown man, you know, with one blow with a machete. So I always, you know, so stuff like, you know, they all, I'm like,
Right.
You know, but that's why I like, you know, Rob Zombie, once again, going back to Rob Zombie, his version of Michael, because that dude was enormous. His Michael Myers was enormous. His Michael was huge.
Yeah, he was huge. He was huge.
And then Jason,
Absolutely.
you know, of course, Jason was just, you know, a big, you know, just big anyway. But, you know, and then it was like, but that's why I was like, but Chucky. That was the whole purpose of that whole little segue.
Yeah, we can't end this show without talking about Chucky.
How in the world was anybody scared of Chucky?
When we talk about Chucky,
how was anybody scared of Chucky?
I like the original. That's funny because my daughter says the same thing. She was like, "It's a dog.
It's a dog.
Why can't you fight him? Why is he overpowering grown ass adults?"
Right. Right.
I don't know.
Right. Yo, if I get beat by a 3-foot dog, I deserve to die.
Yeah, for real. That's kind of crazy because that movie did scare me. And then I think like 2 years after the movie came out, I got a present from my father, and it was a good God dog. Woo! It stayed in the closet. I'm not even gonna lie, it stayed in the closet. But for like slashers, honorable mention has to be Tony Todd and Candyman. The original Candyman. Woo! Yeah. I like that a lot. Absolutely.
Candyman, you know, was actually one of the only purely scary
only African American.
Yeah, you know, first of all, the fact that they made, you know, he was like the first, he was the first, black, you know, the first black horror, you know, icon or whatever have you. But that dude was not only that, they gave it to Tony Todd. His voice, the way he used to talk, that dude was scary. You know, that dude was creepy. He's creepy in everything he's in anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved him in the remake of what Day of the Dead? That's not Day of the Dead. It's not Dawn of the Dead. Nightmare. No, Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead. Okay, yeah. I loved him in that, but his voice, "Be my victim." You know, it was just like so smooth but scary at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and it was yeah. Tony Todd scared the hell out of me. He absolutely did. So if we're going to do, we'll probably get into that when we do other movies, because you guys, we've got so much for you. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the show. For everybody that watches, thank you guys so much. Boogie,
like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
So, you guys, we are going to turn off from the big four. Go enjoy your weekend. Stay home. Stay safe. And just remember, you know, we're alone together. So,
alone together. Later.
See you next week.